Welcome back to ESBL Boxing's YouTube channel. Delighted as always to be joined by Danny. This is a fight preview for the return of Bakhodir Jalolov. After almost a year out of the ring, he is fighting a Nigerian fighter called Onoriode Ehwarieme. Again, as always, really apologies if apologies to myself if I pronounced that incorrectly. We had a rehearsal before the call, and I've still managed to muck it up. But yeah, we can't win at everything. Danny, good to do this video with you. Interested to discuss Jalolov. I know he's kind of had a fantastic amateur career, went 12-0 as the pros, strangely gone back to being amateur. The past year or so was last in the professional ring in November of last year. Your thoughts on how much he's impressed you as a pro so far, and his reasoning, or why you think he's maybe gone out of the sport for a year?
Well, it's hard to say in terms of being impressed because he's not really fought anyone. I mean, stopping Sokolowski in whatever it was, 5 rounds is a pretty impressive bit of form, but it's not an impressive name to beat, really. So, yeah, hopefully this signing with Top Rank can kickstart some much-needed momentum in his career. In terms of why he's gone back, I can't remember what the video was, but Jalolov came up in conversation in a video I watched not that long ago, and apparently like the winner of like the World Championships whatever the last tournament he was in got like 150 grand. So I'd say that's probably something to do with it. I think he's probably well paid in general in that Uzbekistani amateur system, but hopefully that is his last sort of dip back into the amateurs. You'd imagine it will be, and yeah, hopefully he can push on and fulfill some of that potential in the pro ranks.
Yeah, look, we will see. It's nice just to see him back in action. You have so many heavyweights who are whether in the top 5 or the top 10 or the top 20 who are inactive, and he has been one of them for maybe a different reason. But it's just nice to see this guy back in the ring. On his opponent, Ehwarieme, who's got a record of 20-2 with 19 stoppages. 2 losses are both stoppage losses. In terms of like notable win, he's got stopped in 4 rounds by Kozabutski, who is obviously in action in the main event Saturday night against Ehwarieme. Stopped Bracamonte in a round, who's a name that British fight fans will be aware of. So he clearly punches a bit. According to BoxRec, he is 6'7", so big lump, can really punch. Do you think it's interesting one that this is kind of Jalolov's first fight back? Because it looks like not a kind of I wouldn't describe it as maybe a straightforward victory from what I can see. It's not too much of a soft touch. Thoughts on this guy as an opponent, Danny?
Yeah, obviously didn't know anything about him before looking into this fight. Yeah, he's a sellable opponent, isn't he? Because you'd imagine he'll look quite imposing in the ring at 6'7". Really impressive KO percentage. I'm not sure if you touched on stopping Bracamonte in a round is pretty good going. Bracamonte is a fairly durable fella. But then you look at the 2 stoppage defeats. One, as you say, to Kozabutski, and then wasn't there another one to some fella who was like 12-7?
Yeah.
And like, if we're being realistic, he's probably someone who's been brought in for Jalolov to stop in pretty good fashion. You would think that's the idea here. It's not someone they've likely brought in to get rounds in. I don't think. I'm not going to try and pronounce his name, but the Nigerian fella's gone that many rounds. So you'd imagine it's someone that Jalolov can stop in good fashion. At 6'7", you'd imagine it would be a pretty eye-catching knockout if he is to stop him. So you can like sort of get the clip going on socials, hype around the next king of the heavyweight division, and then look to put him into sort of more serious matches, hopefully as soon as possible towards the end of the year.
Yeah, I think so. I just think, look, we're aware of what he did at the Olympics a couple of years ago, and yeah, I just think there has been some hype around him. In my opinion, that hype has kind of faded a little bit because he's just not been fighting as a pro for a little while now. So I think there is a job to do here. You do need to get people back on side and back on the hype train. One kind of curveball I've got for you, Danny. One thing I think it's kind of interesting debate is who is the best heavyweight under the age of 30. I think you've got obviously Jalolov, Jared Anderson, Daniel Dubois, I think you've got to mention as well. It's not like a great category. Like most of kind of the top heavyweights are over the age of 30. Efe Ajagba's still only 29. I don't know if anyone else kind of springs to mind for yourself, but in terms of like if there was a a tournament of heavyweights under the age of 30, do you think Jalolov comes on top at the moment?
See, it's hard because if you're going off resume, you can't have Jalolov as your number one. But in terms of who would win, he'd be bang up there, wouldn't he? Southpaw can really, really punch all the amateur schooling in the world. But the only thing that would make you hesitant is, has he been 8 rounds? He's been once, and that's it. So we don't know what he's like down the stretch in a fight. He hasn't had those rounds. From what I've seen, he's not had his chin checked. So there's a lot of questions. As you said, it's not like something where someone just jumps out as you. You've got Jared Anderson, question marks over him now after the Charles Martin fight. Dubois, big question marks there still. So yeah, like you could make a case for Jalolov, but I'm not going to sit here and say he would absolutely wipe the floor with everyone, because he's not been past 8 rounds. He's not been hit clean by a proper heavyweight, and he's fought has he fought anyone who's really been in there to win against him? Even that's debatable.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like Jared Anderson, Daniel Dubois, who are both quite a bit younger than Jalolov as well, have actually faced names. Have actually kind of have beaten better. They've got better names on their record, whether they're wins or losses, than Jalolov does. So, like, final question, Danny, how much on the hype train are you here? Like, the way I see it, in 2 or 3 years' time, I think there's a good chance that Wilder, Fury, Joshua, and Usyk could all be retired, possibly in 2 or 3 years' time. So therefore, someone's got to take over, right? And there's a chance that the belts are just going to go up in the air, and we could have a kind of a new number one heavyweight every 6 months. But someone's going to have to take over here, and I feel like, look, the likes of Andy Ruiz could still be around in 2-3 years' time. There's other guys as well, but if I was to say to you, yeah, look, Jalolov's the guy, he's going to be kind of the heavyweight king in 3 years' time. I know it's a difficult one because, as we've said, he's not been up against much, but how much of that could you get on board with?
I could definitely see it, because the one thing of the current generation, the heavyweights, it feels as if, like, even if you're 6'3" or 6'4", you're a small heavyweight, whereas Jalolov's like, what, 6'6", 6'7", he's huge. His power is clearly real. I mean, I'm not sure if I've not watched a huge deal of him in the amateurs, but what I have seen is his stoppage of Torres in the Olympic final. Well, I'm sure that was another fight they fought, but he stopped Torres, and like, he's properly stopped him, like, he's with one punch. And to do that in 12-ounce gloves is pretty, like, a good testament to how your power is. So the only questions for me, as I've alluded to, is gas tank and how well he can take a shot. I mean, I don't think there's anything from the amateurs to suggest he's particularly chinny, but the gas tank's the main one, and I suppose your grit. But he's got probably the best case, you would say, on the eye test, but we need to see him in some meaningful fights, and hopefully Top Rank can get him in those sooner rather than later.
Yeah, we'll see. It'll be interesting to see when we see him up against a top 20, top 25 heavyweight.
It's got to be next, surely. It's got to be like someone who can him at least next.
I hope so. My kind of faith in boxing isn't at its highest at the moment, but we'll see. Danny, thank you for joining me. Looking forward to Saturday night. Obviously, got a big heavyweight fight with Alexander Usyk and Daniel Dubois taking place in Poland. But yeah, then got that US card worth staying up for. Thank you very much for your time.